Okay, so the girls have done blocked the base, and it's all double 2020. And I'll just let you know that the 2020 will be tough to sew, and I've got a feeling that it's not going to need any stiffening. You can do it if you like, but I don't think it needs it. Now, beautiful Fiona came in, and she's pulled a bit of wadding over it, and she's ready to block her leather. And we're going to talk about that later. If you've downloaded from your My Learning the notes, you will find steps there, and she's pretty much going to follow those. Everyone's going to have a slightly different journey, but that's okay. My beautiful friend Sarah has given me this, and I'm going to just start, and she's going to continue. So the general rule of thumb that I've observed is if you can block 20/20 so it's smooth when it goes over the edge here, which she has, and she gave it a press after she blocked it just to really get it right, then you can make the leather do the same thing if it's the right sort of leather. And by that, the right sort of leather, I think we talked briefly about it last week, but it needs to have a bit of stretch to it. This has got that. And it needs to be fairly soft. So this will do what we want it to do. I also have the pisher, and I'm going to pish now. And because this is a surface leather, now who is it that, Deb McDonald could tell us. This is chrome tanned, I think she'd tell you. She's the expert. You know how she did all those desert peas last year, and she used the veggie tanned leather, and that is a different and special and very malleable leather. Although I think it's a bit of a specialist shoemaker's leather, and this one we love because it comes in all these different colours, where she was dyeing it and colouring it and doing all sorts of interesting things. So there is that creative scope. Now this is starting to penetrate, and there's more where it came from. And I've got my thimble on, and I've got my, here's beautiful Sarah's again. This has got no stuff on, so that's what it looks like when it's been blocked. Okay, here we go. Serena pin distribution. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to do it on the lap. So it's going to be impossible to everyone to see except Dinny. Okay, and we're going to just gently pull that over and centre it, and just make sure that it's going to fit over the edge in every side. And the answer to that is yes. Well, why don't I do it on the table, and then I'm not hiding it from everyone. So now all we're going to do, it's not really rocket science. It's almost like doing a Cinnamay crown, except what you're doing here is making sure that the leather, is that a hard block?
In some, do you want my hammer?
Maybe I do a little bit, but so I'm just giving it a little bit of a stretch because I know it will have some later. And you can also steam it. So, but what we're going to do is we're just going to start off, thank you my love, that's really helpful. I've got to get mine in here because I've got more hammers than I know what to do with, but none in the room right now, so thank you Sarah. So now I'm just heaving that under, and I'm not going to completely take the job away, and it really is not rocket science.
Do you work in slowly like a Cinnamay, or do you do at a corner at a time to get it flat?
No, we'll work all over. So
Yep.
We'll go and do the in-between here. Oh, now let's just make sure that we have an in-between. Yes, we have. And the beauty of it is that, yeah, so we don't want to get to the end of it and find that we've got a big lump on one section.
Yep.
So it's
Serena,
just, yeah.
about how far under are you chaining that?
Well, Sarah's got a ridge there, which will be where she tucks in her head fit, and she's got a fairly limited amount of leather. If there was a little bit more available, I might have it a fraction deeper. But for her purposes, the important thing is that it's smooth as it crosses that ridge there at the edge, where we're going to have the head fit. And so I'm just going in as deep as I can. Now, as it happens, it's probably about 15 mil, so 1.5 centimetres, which is fine. And the thing is, if you're going to be economical with your leather, then you've got the maximum amount remaining for your other jobs. So you can see there, I've got quarters, and then I've got between 2 quarters, I've just put in 2 extra pins, and it's almost right. But you need to keep working that so that, can you see these little creases?
Yeah.
I really want them to disappear. So, because some old millinery boss will come along and go, I can see creases there. So that's where it's tempting to do deep pillboxes and stuff. But as you go down, it's harder and harder to make that flat surface into a curved surface. So, and I'm using a reasonable amount of pull now because the leather is anchored. I don't know why I'm wearing my keys. I don't need them at the moment. So what you need to do is work all the way around with that. Now, if I get to this point and I start finding that I've got a bit too much, see, there's a bit of this going on in my life. I like to wiggle it from side to side, and also I'll often hold it with a fair bit of flatness so that I can really get it going. So I'm just going to keep on going. And there's a principle at work which you've all used before, and that is you get it so that between every set of, that's the hard one that's come out, between every pin there'll be a loop, and then you split that, and then you split it again, and you split it again, and then you get increasingly tiny little loops until you can smooth it right out, so it's smooth as it goes over the edge. So when you've got that done, I reckon just a little bit of steam is good for me. I like it because it helps it set, and it's still damp but not really damp, and I would leave it like this overnight at least before I separate it out. Now, what I'd like to do is talk you through what happens next. What I would do with this little one is I would unpin it when I've finished, and I would carefully winkle it off the block. So you might want to cut off any fiddly bits that are going on in there so that you've got the minimal amount of stuff. And you know, you just have to hold your breath and heave it, and then sort of smooth it back out when you've done. And the first thing I would do after that is just allow this to come back. And with Sarah's, because you've got a nice little turn under, I would just get your wire, cut it to the length, and then just glove stitch it inside your piece, and you can nominate a centre front and a centre back. And you might put a little mark on your wadding or something so that you can see that. And then you can put your head fit in. Now, could somebody kindly tell me, what would you use for your head fit?
Elasticized velvet.
Elasticized velvet is probably my preferred head fit. Why do we like elasticized velvet?
It gives a nice tight hug to the inside.
Yeah,
rim.
it does.
It also stops it from moving.
Thank you so much.
And
That's
easy to bend it.
It's easy to curve.
Yeah,
did
it's a curve.
you say that or no?
Well, it does, it curves, but it
Yeah.
gives a nice tight hug
Yeah,
in
it's
around the wire.
yeah. That's a good point. That said, if you don't have elasticized velvet, and it can be tricky to find, you can get your Petersham and you can curve it like crazy so that it also will sit reasonably well inside there. That's what we all used before we got the elasticized velvet. But if it's good enough for Philip Tracy, he uses the elasticized velvet, it's good enough for me. So So then when you've done that, I would also, you could put a little comb in it and an elastic to make it so that your client positions it, or you could put it on a wire band. And if you use a standard brim wire, you would put an elastic behind the head. But if you use the high tensile fabric covered wire, you can actually make it into a headband that will grip enough that it will stay on the person's head without the elastic. And some people don't like the wire, some people don't like the elastic. So you kind of need to have a bit of a conversation with your client about how they would like it to sit on. Some people don't like anything, and then you might, does anyone have any solutions for that? Any ideas about what one might do?
Do you have little loops inside it to bobby pin?
Yeah, good work. And you can actually make those loops out of crin, and it heals itself. When you put the bobby pins in, you can make it match the hair, and it'll hold the hat thing in place, and a comb as well will help, so a comb digging in, and maybe even, actually one of the English milliners, and this is something I did recently, I went to this millinery